folks. Are you serious? I got to get this man a hat, a shirt, a coffee cup, the whole 9 yards. Joining us right now from Noble Gold Investment, of course, is our good friend, our good buddy, Colin Plume. Colin, great to see you here today.
Always.
How you doing?
As my dad says, any day above ground's a good day. So I'm
Amen.
happy to be here. 79 years old, still going. Vietnam vet, my father. Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
I'm happy to be here. Always. It's always a good day. It's always.
Amen. Amen. Well, I know we were just talking off air before we come on here, and I thought maybe Colin wanted to do a marriage counseling show, but he's decided that's another program. So probably
11 years married. I'm going, but man, things do fall on deaf ears. I'll tell you. She says, you talk a lot, you've been saying a lot, and but yeah, I've been talking about gold for a few years. I told her, and she said, you're in the business. It's not. I go, no, it's the writing is on the wall. I mean,
you did. I have to admit, folks, it was probably 4 years ago. I think gold was hanging around in that $1,800 an ounce. And Colin says, you need to hear me. Soon there's going to be a run. It's going to go over $2,500 an ounce. And I was like, okay, Colin, you're the expert, but I just don't see it. So I just checked, Colin. It's 2,559.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah. And so what happens is, and the reason I knew it was going to happen was because no, I'm just kidding. The reason I knew it was going to happen is I remember when gold broke 1,000, and it was very similar dynamic because it was 2009. And what happened was we had low rates from 2001 after 9/11. Everybody remembers they dropped rates.
Oh yeah.
So we had low rates, and then basically they let everyone buy a house, and they didn't check papers, and so the whole market, there was too much bad debt, and the whole market started collapsing end of 2007, 2008, and they raised rates. Right. Yep. They raised rates, and gold flirted with 1,000, dropped back down below. And then it went parabolic from 2009 to 2011. And I remember it was testing 1,000. And that's why a few years ago I said it's testing 2,000. And it did. It tested it again last year. It tested the numbers. It was up and down. And and it's very much like a stair step, the way gold has been. It's been like a stair step. And if you look at the charts, that's typically what happened. And a lot of it is there's a lot of indicators of why gold has done this. But, one chart for people really to keep an eye on right now, and don't take my word for it, is what's happening when you have high interest rates and then they start to drop them. And if you look at those charts, 2008, 2009, you go back to 93, 94, you go back to the mid 80s. Anytime they have it, rates go up a lot and they start to drop, gold typically does pretty well. And it's because they're opening up, the money supply. So you should look at those charts. I think they're pretty interesting. I was just refreshing on the charts today and looking at what's kind of happened. And it's, history repeats itself, right? I mean, these aren't
absolutely
people, you look at all these indicators of recessions, like, you have this Somm report was created by Claudia Somm, who's an economist. And she says that if unemployment goes up more than 0.5% in any 12-month period, you're in a recession. And it has. It's gone up more than 0.5%. And so based on her indicator, we're in a recession. And, Powell really dropped the ball and should have lowered rates much earlier. And my gut is now he's gonna just like when they said they missed the boat raising rates, I think they missed the boat to lower rates. Right. They were too far behind it. And I think they're going to kind of try to catch up now because business owners are not hiring. That's it. I mean, I can tell you, I talked to a gentleman who owns a big recruiting company, big recruiting company. He said, the companies will put out jobs because they want to seem like they're still in the market, but they won't hire anybody. He's like, it's killing me because they get paid commission based on converting employees. Headhunters, basically.
They're headhunters, right?
Yeah, and he said that they're putting out jobs and they're basically just wasting their time. So they're sort of trying to change their terms to either charge an exorbitant amount more, or they're going to try to get some money up front, because really what they're doing is they're just putting out these jobs for the shareholders to make it seem like they're growing, but they're really just at a standstill. A lot of major corporations are just at a standstill right now. They're not growing. They want to see what's going to happen with the markets, and they're just being quite cautious. So I'm concerned that unemployment could go even higher, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see it get close to 5%, which would be a pretty negative report.
Yeah.
They just said they made a mistake. There was 800,000 more jobs than they anticipated. I don't know if you just saw that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you miss 800,000 jobs in the U.S. It's a pretty big number.
Well,
8,000 jobs maybe, but 800,000.
Well, I was studied on that 800,000 jobs that they over exaggerated and said that were created weren't here.
Right.
And I was watching Kevin O'Leary, I believe that's his name, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. And he was saying, look, he said, when you miss this by 50, 60,000 jobs a month, you over-report. He said, the interest rates stay up because they don't see the growth. So they say, better keep interest rates up. And he said, guys like me, I don't know how to invest.
Right.
I don't know which way to go.
Correct.
Because your numbers are wrong. So
and then to come out, we've already had, unemployment hit 4.6%. Now that number's not even accurate. So it's probably like 4.7 or 4.8.
Right.
If you annualize that over the last 12 months of all the mistakes, it could be higher.
Could be
so
over
I think it's pretty damaging, that most recent report.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people have been calling for them to have an emergency meeting and just lower rates now. Forget waiting until September, but I don't think they're going to, because it's really egg on their face, right? They don't want to.
You're right. It's a political environment. They don't want to look bad. It's bad enough that they forgot they missed 800,000 jobs, and so I guess the point will be this. And I went back. I mean, one of the talking points here I was studying here, some of the information was, is this kind of how did this kind of thing happen in 1929, where they again. Interest rates were up a little bit. They kept them up too long.
Right.
Reports weren't correct. And I don't even know how they kept it back in those days. I'm not saying we're going to have a crash at all. And I actually don't think so. But do you believe that will they lower? Look, the housing market has really grinded to a halt. Yes. I mean, I know realtors out here. One lady I know, she sold 48 houses last year in the villages. Okay. The year before last. This year she sold 3. Right. And it's simply because people can't get loans, or they can't sell their house up north, so they can't buy a house here.
Yeah. And
the interest rates are too high. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, the last 4 out of 5 Ubers that I've taken have been real estate agents. Let's put it that way. I mean, it's a tough situation. And God bless them for just not caring and just going, you know what, I need to make money. And I do think, my 2 biggest things that I talk about for people is that the 2 things you have to do in this world is you have to accept that there are gig jobs available.
Absolutely.
In great money that were never around 20, 30, 40 years ago. And you have to be willing to be flexible.
You got to
reinvent take some of those. And so those people that are, in real estate and going, I'm doing this until things come back. That's the right attitude. That's the kind of attitude that's the American attitude, in my opinion. This idea of giving people, I don't know if you saw this new thing about Kamala Harris wanting giving people $25,000 to buy a house.
I saw it.
And this kind of, we made a mistake paying off the college debt. That's not fair. I had a friend I was talking to the other day. He's like, I paid off my debt. Why did they get a free pass on the debt? I paid it off. I got a good job. That's the way it is. You go to college, you get a higher education, you pay for that higher education. And that's the deal that you made. But now these freebies and the tax plan, Kamala Harris's tax plan.
It's awful.
It is, quite, and I took a picture I actually have it on my phone here because I want to have it as my screensaver so that I make sure when I talk to people, like, here's what is proposed by the tax proposals that she wants. Corporate tax, 21%. We go to 28%.
That's huge.
Huge number. Capital gains from 20% to 44.6%.
Okay. Would you sell so if capital gains go to 44%, people who own a home or have property, they're not going to sell it.
Never.
You'd be insane to sell it.
Never going to sell. So it just hurts the real estate market even more.
You have
no motivation. You have no motivation. And basically what you do if you're small, you just borrow against your house until you can't. You just take as much money out. Never sell it.
You'll never sell it, because if somebody's going to take 44% of your capital gains and they just take it, you have no way you can ever invest in real estate. Forget it.
Absolutely not. And also, I mean, there's also other taxes that have already been. There's a mansion tax in LA that they've already over $5 million. That's totally the real estate market in California is destroyed because they have this mansion tax and they're taxing people over $5 million, a huge amount of 10% tax.
And don't you have a tax also that if you leave California, you got to pay California something?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, they track you for years. I mean, nobody's leaving California. They're putting a tag on you and they're making you stay around forever.
So the song is true. You can check out anytime you like, but in California, you could never leave.
Exactly. I mean, capital gains of 44.6 million. And, and this is the problem with this is that amount is so egregious to people that, let's say a lot of your net worth is tied up in your house. And you go, I'm going to downsize, which makes a lot of sense, right? The kids are gone. They're off to college. You downsize.
Absolutely.
You can't downsize. You can't, you're never going to sell because why would you take a 50% hit in your house? And then what? There's no savings there. And then the biggest one, the scary one is the unrealized gains tax. I mean, it's 0% right now because that's what it should be. And it's 20. She wants to go to 25% on.
Explain that tax. Is this an inheritance tax, or
this is like investments that you haven't sold? That she wants to because the idea is people have all this money in the stock market and they're not selling and this and that. So she wants to be able to tax the unrealized gain, like the gain. Which, by the way, is it a gain? Like, what year is a gain? Like, what year how much? What is a gain? It's not a gain until you sell. You don't win
until you sell. That's why it's called a tax deferred annuities or IRAs or right.
Stock market. If you buy a stock, you have Tesla or whatever.
Yep.
You never sell it. You don't pay a gain. You're not paying. Like, what benefit have you taken? She wants to tax it 25%. I mean, this is. I mean, these things, right? It's
communism. It's almost communism. It's almost like a capital communism.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. Is it Tim Walz? Let me ask you. I mean, I know. I just don't think Harris is ever really had any economic training. Okay, she's more of a lawyer, and Walz, though, I understand he has run Minnesota when he took in the ground. It had I think it had a $2 billion, I want to say $2 billion surplus when he became governor, and in 5 years he has almost an $8 billion deficit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? Who reported on that the most? Ironically, is CNN. Because I was reading online about his, and I saw, wow, CNN. I'm surprised. Even they understand that this guy run. I mean, we're putting this idea of these people, the way that they want to control, just taxing and hampering us and hamstringing us. Haven't you seen what's happened over the last 4 years? People are moving to red states. They're going away from the red states. Florida is booming. Texas booming. These places are booming. And you know what? They have more money because more people are moving there. Corporations are moving there. They're creating jobs.
Yep.
They're aligning themselves with business owners, right? I mean, that's job creators. So it's quite scary. And so that's what I was saying earlier about the gig. It's really about being flexible today as an individual, doing, having the gig economy, being able to pick up other jobs while maybe real estate doesn't pick up, and then just tangible investments, having something that you own, because what is happening today is that they want you to own nothing. There's literally, they want it. I mean, the World Economic Forum came out last year with the video, and it talked about 10 things that you own now that you could just rent. And it talked about the positives of renting your house, renting your car, renting, like literally everything that you own, renting your children. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, literally everything that you have, you could rent.
Just
right?
rent.
That was the idea. And think about that. Think about what they're trying to do. Most of the wealth in this country, people that are the most wealthy, have built it through owning assets and businesses.
Absolutely.
So the World Economic Forum is saying, you know what, even though the history has said that that's the way to build wealth, we're going to give you a surefire way to build wealth, which is owning absolutely nothing. That's in essence, and look, you can look up the video online. I mean, I'm not.
No, I know it. I've watched it, in Klaus Schwab, and this doctrine of you will own nothing, and you'll love it, and you'll be happy.
Love it.
Is absolutely the biggest lie ever told to people.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I have a lot of friends that are lawyers that are estate lawyers, and they always tell me that, because I was like, why do the estate, when the estate goes to the kids, why does a judge or whoever's in charge sort of push them into annuities? Yeah. And it's because this new generation now doesn't want to do any of the work with, let's say, the parents' home. They like literally immediately sell it, get the cash, and they blow it. And so that's why a lot of times they'll try to push them to do a significant portion in annuity. And not that an annuity is that great, but they can't get it, at least for a few years. The money's sort of stuck. I mean, think about that we have an educated
building value. If it's a home and property, it could actually be building some serious value for the children.
They don't want to fix the roof. They don't want to deal with the plumbing. They don't want to. So it's quite scary that people today think that owning stuff is a burden. That's the thing about that, is that they don't want. I mean, even this. Think about this phone. Like, you really what do you own here? What do you just own? The phone is, if you don't have an iOS, if you're not connected, this phone doesn't work. So yeah, you spend $1,000 on it, but if you don't pay your bill, $200, $300, $100, whatever it is, this thing doesn't work. This is not an asset. People don't realize that there's just so few assets out there. And so that's, Pastor Paul, that's the real problem coming into the next,
well, okay, let me ask the question, because, and I see here's certain assets I always see. Precious metals are assets. Real estate is an asset.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is an asset. Okay. Or crypto. And stock market, is an asset. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or cash. Cash is another asset. Okay.
But cash is the worst asset.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even, I remember when I started in this business 16 years ago, I met my wife, pretty much right after, and we started to talk about how much cash we should keep. We started dating, and, she was very heavy on cash, and we need to keep a certain amount of the bank. Right. She's literally the first one now. Whenever we have money, she's like, get it out of the bank. Get it out. She just does not trust.
You don't trust. Well, look at these regulations. And I guess that's my question to you today, Colin, is you brought up all the crazy Harris tax plan. Does she have one for gold? Does she have one for gold and silver? Or is that still kind of like under the radar safer?
No, I mean, and I think, Trump sort of alluded that, even though he started talking about Bitcoin and having reserves, like, if he's talking about Bitcoin, he's going to try to add more gold.
Of course.
He's not just going to do
gold everywhere. You see, he's got gold, and he's got the Trump tower up there. He's got a whole street that's made of gold.
I mean, he doesn't want to rock the boat before the election happens, but I promise you, he gets in office, he's going to be putting more gold in reserves. He understands the value of tangible investments. That's how he's built his entire wealth. Exactly. Is real estate, and then his brand, right? He built a brand of excellence. I mean, that's really what Trump is. And so, the potential president that we could have is someone that either has never run, a big corporation or any kind of economic situation, and is sort of getting, and let's be honest, like, so many problems have happened since she's been vice president. And yeah, you can make the argument that she's not in control of making the ultimate decision, but we haven't even heard her until now. And the first things that have come out have been giving people $25,000 that were $35 trillion in debt.
That's crazy.
So giving people more money. The second thing is this tax plan which will
Great.
really hurt. And it's all about, we got to get the money away from the rich, and it's all about and it's all this, and it's at the end of the day, like, what about job creation? If unemployment's, getting to be an issue at 4.6%, it's going hard. Shouldn't we be focused on ways to create jobs that are not government jobs? Like government jobs, we have a lot of government jobs. That's not
more than we need. We got way more than we need.
Way more. We need to focus on private sector jobs.
That's right.
Help grow the economy. And that's the real issue, is that these are the first agenda. What about like an agenda that would be really positive for manufacturers, or for getting manufacturing back
You're
here?
talking tax abatements. I mean, and I'm all for those, especially if companies who have a lot of factories overseas, if our country gave them a serious tax abatement plan to bring the plants back, which creates jobs for Americans, I'm all for it.
Right.
100%. Because, and also don't overtax these companies, because when you do, why even be in business if you're overtaxed? And that costs us jobs.
I promise you right now, the major corporations are looking at Kamala Harris's potential tax plan. And obviously there'd have to be a lot of movement, and she can't enact the law without,
right.
It has to go through the channels there, but they're looking at this and they're creating a strategic plan that if she's elected, that they'll be prepared to move a lot of corporations. I can promise you that. They're not going to be looking at this tax plan. And can you imagine all the C-suite guys going, oh, my taxes, my unrealized gain. So I have all this stock, and now she's elected, and now I'm going to have to pay tax on all this unrealized. That's it. I'm moving. That's it. I'm getting out of the country. I'm going to Puerto Rico. I'm going to wherever it is. I'm getting out of here. I'm not gonna have it. So, I think it's important for people to realize that there's some potentially serious implications coming up here, and it could affect everyone. I look at that capital gains, and that increase that's proposed, and that really hurts the person that's in retirement or close to retirement, because I look at people every day that are, have this house, they're close to paid off, or it's paid, whatever it is, they have a ton of equity, and they're going to downsize and use that money to live on. I mean, let's be honest, that's one of the most common ways. And if you're going to get taxed at almost 50% when you're going to do that, what are you going to do? You're not going to be able you're going to have to bring your kids back in and rent the house, or, you're going to have to come up with a much different strategy. That's why Airbnb really blew up. It blew up because of the idea that there's a lot of people that had a guest house that want to make extra. It's all the gig. Everything a gig has been beneficial. It's really worked. Uber, all these gig jobs.
And that's capitalism. That is capitalism. You allow people to go ahead and make, all these Ubers and Lyft and the Airbnb, all these things are people having the ability to make money, to earn a living. And I love President Trump's ideal of no taxing people who work and for tips. That's just going to fuel every person that ever eats in a restaurant. When you go to leave that tip, you're going to feel so good about knowing the government's not going to tax them.
That's why I always try to tip in cash.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And they do what they want with it, right? When you tip somebody in cash, but we always
say God bless them.
Yeah, so that's why you tip in these, right? You tip in these. Besides, I'm happy to get rid of these. I'm not getting rid of these. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, because you're saying cash is the dollar's value. It's paper, right? But
I'm happy to give these away. I actually a few times I used to give away silver coins.
Yeah.
By the way, they just confusion. When I give them a silver, silver Trump, right? You drop that on a bill, and the confusion there. And I'd say, this is going to be worth something. And, sometimes people are like, I want cash and this and that. And I get it. They want the money. They want to spend it right then. But they were thinking long term over the last few years. They could have done really well in holding some of that. And
this right here. And folks, you can if you get it, go to PastorPaulGold.com over at Noble Gold, PastorPaulGold.com. You could get 10, if you qualify for it with an IRA or a 401k rollover, 10 of these Donald Trump silver coins. I promise you, these are, you've got this one. I love this 10 ounces
flag. Yeah, the
flag bar. I love that.
Yeah, that's been a hot seller for us. And you can buy those.
You can buy them, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can buy those. But, I think what it is, Pastor Paul, is like, we're coming into a new age where people really need to look into what the World Economic Forum is doing. They need to look at, these ESG initiatives that they're trying to put forward.
Yeah.
And, people don't realize, I remember the first ESG ad I saw for a company that said, do you want your hard-earned money to go to a company that makes tobacco, cigarettes, or whatever? And I said, what's going on here? And then it was talking about an ESG fund, right?
Yep.
Basically they determine what's ethical for people to invest into, and that's a very slippery slope.
It's first of all, who determines what is ethical or
right.
not? Right.
It's and you know what? I can tell you, it's really hurt the banking industry and it's hurt farmers, because when a farm now wants to get a loan, the bank has to go in and do a study to determine if that farm is doing things environmentally sound. Right. They have to go.
What?
So they have a whole layer that they have to add. And it's become very onerous and difficult for farmers to get it, because they say, well, listen, my family's on this farm for 100 years and I gotta, I need more equipment. And they go, okay, well, we got to go in there and see how you're treating the chickens and how are you massaging them? And no, I'm half joking, but not joking.
You're not joking.
Look this up. This is actually true, that they've made it very difficult for people to get loans, because they do have to. The banks are required now to do this. They can't just loan a farm. Is it organic? Is it non-organic? And there's all these different laws now. And it's like, there's enough problems with high interest rates. There's enough red tape. Now you're adding another layer where you're not looking at the creditworthiness of the farm just on its own and how the farm is
profitability, right?
You're determining what is environmentally safe or ethical, and that's the big problem with this. Is they're just creating layers of committees and fees, and who's the biggest pushers? This is BlackRock and all these big companies.
Yep.
They want to make it so difficult for the small business owner to get a loan, or so difficult for an apartment owner to manage. Apartment owners across the country are struggling right now.
They're struggling because they can't get a loan.
They can't get a loan. They can't refinance. There's all this red tape. So guess who's going to come in? These big companies.
Yep.
They're going to come in. I mean, but beneath our noses, these companies are buying single family homes right underneath. And that's why, even though rates have doubled, prices of homes in a lot of areas have not gone down, because they're buying them.
The big guys are buying the homes, and the little people that was trying to get a home can't get the loan to bank. Why? The banks are raising, besides the interest rate, they're raising the amount of money down payment. They're saying you need 20% down, maybe 25% down.
Yeah. If you go back, so they did a study. If you go back 10 years ago, 3% of first-time home buyers got money from their family, friends, whoever, someone involved. This year, it's up to 13% have had to borrow money
within the family.
Within the family, with somebody. So imagine another 10 more years. And at the end of the day, like, look, you're lucky. Maybe you have a rich uncle or somebody or aunt that can help you out, but not everybody has that ability to do that. And that's really because rates got really high, and there's all this red tape when it comes to getting it. The banks have been out of the loan business. They've just stayed out of it. And unfortunately, that hurts regular people that want to build a nest egg for their lives. So they're creating, to kind of go back to what we're saying, they're creating a system to make it difficult for regular people to acquire assets. That's the thing that people you need to start.
Dangerous.
That's the problem with today. They'll let you do a fractional piece of a farm. They'll let you own a fractional stock. They'll let you own fractional gold. And like, there's all these fractional ways to own stuff, but really the fees and the way you build wealth is owning things by yourself. That's the way, owning a business by yourself, growing your wealth, owning assets by yourself. That's how you build. And they're trying to take those things away. That's the scary element of the ESG and this movement that's happening, and all this government oversight, is they don't want you to own anything. And that's basically creating a society where we're dependent on the government. And
Yeah.
that's really what we're seeing happen.
Well, what about also, I'm going to bring this up too, because this price fixing, this price gouging, this thing that they're
Yeah, that they can fix the price. How do they determine what the prices should be? But we got to let the market dictate what prices
right.
are, right? I mean, that's the big thing that people need to keep in mind. And I will tell you, people are shocked by gold. Traders are shocked by gold because gold went up. It's up 30% from last year. From last year to today, it's up 30%. Year to date, it's up about 20%. But from a year ago to today, it's up, and they're blown away because the typical dynamics of gold have not been in fruition. We have high rates, right? We have an environment that you would think cash would be strong. The dollar's been strong. They're paying 4.5% in the bank. Why are people buying gold? Why has there been so much? It's overseas buying of gold. It's central banks. 470 tons of gold have been bought by central banks this year. It hasn't even been the U.S. retail market. It's just starting to happen. They're catching up right now.
Just now.
This push over the last 12 months has not been the U.S. retail market.
So when the U.S. retail market starts, Colin, are we going to go over $3,000 an ounce?
I think so. Yeah, I do think so. I think silver's, 81 to 1 ratio, gold to silver ratio. It's just unbelievable.
I mean, right now, silver's a little over $30. It's about $30 an ounce right now.
Yeah.
A lot of times we heard, because of the solar panels and solar, people have been waiting on silver to go up to $50 an ounce, maybe even as high as $100 an ounce.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah, there's a massive shortage in silver ounces this year, and it has to go up because, listen, it doesn't matter who's in office. This silver, what's happening in green energy and everything, it's still going.
Still going.
It's still going to happen in Europe. I'll tell you this: I love a gas car. Okay, I love turning on a gas car.
Me too.
I almost, my wife almost killed me because I have an old car. I turned it on, and it takes a while to turn the car. I turned it on in the garage, and I forgot to close the door to the house, and I almost blew her out with all the exhaust. I mean, she literally almost ring. I love that smell. I love the smell. So just because I talk about silver and where I just know where the money's going, right? I'm not saying I love this car and I love having it's an old 68 Pontiac.
Oh, nice.
But what I'm saying is that it's when gasoline hits $8 a gallon or $10 or $12, the math right now on owning an electric car, if you're puttering around in your neighborhood compared to gas, you're going to save money, no doubt.
Yeah.
When you go to $8 or $10 or $12 or $14 a gallon, which it will go. People remember that $2 was there. $2 is bye-bye.
That's gone.
Now we're at $4 or $5. It's going to be at $6. The math makes sense. And I'll tell you why the math makes sense. A lot of it is because finally the prices on these silly looking cars has finally come down.
Finally brought them down. Yep.
Probably come down to earth. Now it makes sense. And so you can pick up one of these cars for $30.
And the battery, if I understand, Tesla's getting ready to come back out again with this new battery, which is even going to extend the car getting, instead of 300 miles,
it's like
on a charge, it's going to go to 500.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, you have a gas car to go farther, and then you have the electric. How many people are going more than 300 miles in a week or a month, or maybe one trip a year? You go to one of the beautiful national parks, but overall, you're going around your neighborhood 10, 20, 30, maybe 100, 150 miles a day, maybe maximum.
Right.
So I would just say that this is where things are going, and so that's why silver. They use silver in these cars. They're using silver in solar panels, 20 grams in every solar panel. And the revolution of solar panels is worldwide. It's happening everywhere. It's going on everywhere. It's going on in China. It's going everywhere. China is more conscious of energy, and they're thinking about it more than we are. And they're having every house have solar panels on it. So it's going to continue to move in that direction. Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things happen. I think the rates come down quarter point, half point next month. Then you have the BRIC meeting in October 22nd, 23rd. They're talking about a gold-backed currency, and then we got the election in November. I mean, it's can't miss TV right now.
This is the time, folks, really if you have some savings to shift it into gold or silver, or if you've just sold property and you've got some cash and you got a windfall, this is a moment to think about it instead of throwing it all at the stock market or throwing it on and just putting it in the bank. diversify, right, Colin?
Yeah. Well, and also like you maybe get into some tangible investments before they try to tax you 50%. I mean, that's another thing.
Buy some property before that. And if they raise this thing to 44% of capital gains, there's just no way you can tell anybody to sell anything but wait till the next election.
Yeah, no, they won't.
It's crazy.
It's not thought out. You know, it's like, okay, you put those things out there like, okay, yeah, maybe we get a little bit more money coming in, you know, directly, but what are the effects of that? How does the market move? And there's a lot of people that have been struggling in real estate for the last 2 or 3 years because of rates. You're going to make that industry just go to zero. Like nobody's going to want to.
But that's what they want. They want the big corporation. They want to own it all.
They want to own it all. Yeah,
and they do. To own nothing and be happy. Klaus Schwab told us. He told us where they're going. Yeah. And you know, and I know we've seen the policies being shaped to make that happen.
Yeah. And we, you know, right now, this is the whole thing. And I was talking to somebody about it. It's like, you know, I remember when $100 was something, right? It was a big deal. You can't even take your family out anymore for $100. I mean, this is really what's happening, right? This is what's happened over the last, they've just printed this to the moon, right? I mean, they just print. But really what they're doing is just printing. And then this is just really and I don't even know if gold's gone up or if it's just kind of held its value, right? Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe it's kept your buying power the same. Any way you want to look at it.
You're right.
Right? I mean, anyway, that's the thing is like over the last 4 years, you're just able to buy the things you were able to buy with before, right? So any way you want to look at it, this thing's falling. Maybe this thing's not even going up. Maybe it's just holding. Or maybe it is going up. I don't know. I mean, we can
say it's going up because we see it's at 2,500. But to your point, in the reality of what can you buy with it,
right?
The cash is falling. That your value. Matter of fact, we know that the value of the dollar is falling, and your buying power of the dollar is falling drastically.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah. And it's cost of food has gone up, inflation, and those things aren't going back. The cost of food's not going back. You know, I saw McDonald's came out there. They did a teaser because no one's going to McDonald's in a lot of these places. It's too expensive. So they wanted to come back with the $5.99 meal just to get people back in the door. Right. I mean, they used to have a $1 menu. Yeah. Now they have a $5.99 menu. Think about that. You know, they used to have $1. Now they have $5.99 because they just got to get people back in the door.
And what about Subway? Remember, it was the $5 foot long. Now it's $6 for half, for 6 inches. Yeah. So forget the $5 for a foot. It's bad.
This is gonna be $5. It's gonna be a 3-inch.
Yeah.
It's and
all right. Well, Colin, tell the folks, guys. You can go to PastorPaulGold.com. Okay, go to PastorPaulGold.com. Sign up. Get involved. If anything, even if you don't know what to do as far as should I just buy some gold and silver and put it in a safety deposit box, put it somewhere in your home in a safe or whatever? Yes. Okay. Or
just call
that number.
Call us and we'll walk you through it. And listen,
401k. I mean, Colin, you guys will help people move their 401k over to a gold IRA real easy. The process is real easy.
Yeah, we'll do all that. We'll help you with the paperwork. We'll help you contact your custodian. We'll do that. My team does that. We work 6 days a week. So we've really streamlined that process because, listen, the big companies have made it harder to move money. They don't want you to move it. They made it more difficult. But we work through it and we're patient. And at the end of the day, the thing I always believe is it's your money. And you should have access to it and you should have control of it. And that's the beauty behind the self-directed IRA is that you are in control of what you do. You buy the gold, we help you, but you're in control. So we're not dictating anything. Gold goes to 3,000. Let's say you buy it from us and it goes, I don't know where it's going to go. Let's say it goes to 3,000. You go, you know what? I want to sell half. I'm happy. That's it. You sold it. We can do. Yeah. So you dictate it. And we're just here to walk you through it and be involved. As long as you own gold and silver with us, we're going to be there for you. And it's nice people, friendly people, people you're going to like talking to, people that own gold and silver. So I think you're gonna like who you're talking to. It's friendly, and at the end of the day, if you get the information, it's not for you, then it's not for you. It's great, but we're here to answer questions and Lots of good information we can set out.
There's the phone number, folks, on the screen, as you've been seeing, 877-646-5347. All right, 877-646-5347. Give them a call. And I love it because when you go at Noble Gold, whenever you call, they don't just say, okay, throw everything at this. They listen to where you're at in your life cycle. Okay, where are you? What do you have? What are you thinking? What's your plan? And you guys are great at that, Colin, helping people make the right decisions that's good for them. You know?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And it's always good to see you always good to be on the show, and glad to see you're doing well and your health is doing well. Family's good. And at the end of the day, health and family are the most important.
What it's all about. You know, it really is.
And
I got to get you on more often. So I'm going to have to talk to Brittany and say, hey, schedule Colin every month.
I want to be on. I only come back on if I get a Are You Serious hat, though.
Okay. All right. I got to rush that out. I got to rush it. Colin, thank you so much for being on with us again today. And folks, what a great company. I mean, they're good Christian, family-oriented, conservative, red, white, and blue American company, noblegoldinvestment.com. All right, so click on the link, pastorpaulgold.com, or call them today. Do it today, 877-646-5347. And, folks, we will see you next time right here again with Pastor Paul on the coming apocalypse. Especially with the apocalypse, you got to have some gold put away. It's a biblical currency, right? God bless everybody.